Welcome all to the 2022 PlayVS Cup, the Overwatch Youth Program Championship. I'm your host, Jim Basco, and of course today I'm joined by none other than Dor. How you doing, man? I'm so excited for this tournament.
I'm ready. High school Overwatch is always exciting. Any sort of scholastic Overwatch, right? We see a lot of collegiate teams getting into the scene now, taking over contenders. We had some huge collegiate tournaments recently, and now getting to break it down, go into high school and see where are these teams picking from, right? These students are playing for scholarship money. There's a lot on the line for them. This is a fantastic experience for not just players, but we get to watch it alongside them.
Yeah, it's super exciting. And of course, the two teams that we've got for you today in our final match is Brophy Zephyr versus Base's DC Overwatch. So they've come a long way competing through a tough and intense bracket, but here they are finally into the finals, and it's going to be a best of 5 matchup, Door. So like you said, that path to pro extends so far down, right? Here we are in high school. We're seeing talent bud from such a young age. There's so much anticipation, right, for this next wave of pro players, and this is really where it all starts.
And it's fun to watch this level as well because you get to watch the creativity of these players, because obviously meta is still important, but as long as the comps are relatively decent, you can kind of get away with a lot of stuff and showcase not just your team's flexibility, but what they enjoy playing, kind of fall in nooks and crannies, which then leads to map counter picks, which leads to even more depth of just coaching and what exactly these teams are doing on not just an individual basis, but a more meta team basis.
Yeah, and it's always the coolest thing, too, because in these leagues, too, you can practice almost whatever sort of meta that you want to, right? If you get really good at one thing, you can kind of force the meta in some way. And so you can always go back in Overwatch history, right? And look at, GOATs and how that came up through the tier 2 and things like that. There is always room for innovation in the game. So it's always good to see. And I'm excited to see what we see come out of these teams today in our finals, right? Both these teams have battled it tooth and nail through the bracket. Brophy Zephyr getting close multiple times throughout the bracket, but finally making it all the way to round 4 in our finals here today, Door. We see a lot of support for Brophy also in the chat, so let us know in the Twitch chat who you're supporting between the two teams here. It's going to be exciting to say the least.
It will be, and of course we should mention what we're playing for. It's a lot of cold hard cash in the scholarships. $13,000 going to the team that wins first place. That is, of course, split up amongst their players. Second place takes away a cool $7,000. So even if you lose on broadcast, not the end of the world, all things considered. You're still going into college with a pretty decent amount of your textbooks paid for.
Yeah, that is a lot of money on the line, so there is tension, there is stress, there is a lot riding on this game. But as we're talking about it, Brophy Zephyr and Base's DC Overwatch are getting ready to rock and loading into the game itself, Door. So what do we got first?
Ready for that. Well, I'm really excited to watch a little bit of rush here, and it's most likely what we're going to get, though there are some small changes to be made between them, the biggest of which that I'm noticing here is in the tank lines, getting a D.Va versus Zarya. Zarya Reinhardt, not particularly popular these days. Zarya just doesn't exactly hang with the utility that a D.Va is going to give your Reinhardt, and then the support lines, kind of different ideologies and what they want to do, right? Ana Brig is going to provide more solo target healing onto that Reinhardt, but the Baptiste and the Lucio, a little bit more modern with the survivability of the Baptiste and how fast Brophy Zephyr are going to be able to get on top of bases here as they take the first fight at speed.
Yeah, absolutely. That speed is really going to be all the difference, and really the chunk healing, right? When you're looking at Brophy, you've got that Baptiste, and of course, Bases running the Ana. How is that going to play out? We'll have to see, running the Hanzo, running the Cassidy as well. There is just so much variability in how we're going to take these fights. So I'm excited to see, of course, Lucio's speeding out the gate as well. So, of course, we're going to get the issues that we have resolved. We're taking a quick pause as both teams get those things figured out for themselves. But between the two teams, it's exciting. I like the diversity in the compositions already, so I'm tingling. I'm ready to roll. And we got teased just a little bit, but Dor, what are you expecting out of that matchup, just from what you saw so far?
Yeah, as someone who plays too much Reinhardt, quite frankly, I'm looking at these compositions, and they play very, very, very differently. I would give a slight edge to the team running D.Va and Baptiste in the blue. It's just more modern. It offers a lot more in terms of flexibility, but if bases can do what they want, speed in, put the damage down on Rare after that defense matrix is worn out, and just outposition Reinhardt, they should be in a decent place.
Ooh, trying to wall up that Reinhardt. Doesn't work out. Is able to back up to the rest of the team and keep up that shield for the pressure here. Playing around the pillar really well. Brophy Zephyr are pushing bases off the high ground. Great Maywall to block off the back, and Rare with a good charge there connects onto Ana. That is a significant amount of the heal is going to go down. And so there's a return frag from Icicle as well. But overall, Brophy really well done to open up that fight. And now as that we get into this extended skirmish, Basis and Brophy are both on the point, duking it out back and forth.
Yeah, and without the Reinhardts in the fight, it becomes a bit more of a clown fiesta here. You're looking at the DPS to really come up big, but right now that Baptiste is playing off. Ark's ability to AoE heal this team has kept them alive and in it for Rare to come back.
Yeah, really nicely done by Scylla there. Grabs 2 right clicks quick, finds dome pieces after dome pieces, and is able to put Brophy in a great spot as they take the first cap on the map. Now to take the high ground control once again and reset for the next fight here.
Yep, Base is just going to wait for the Reinhardt to come back up. Looking at the ultimates, though, you do, of course, have the Nano Boost. Going up against an Amplification Matrix, though, in this hallway is a tall task. Brophy Zephyr got to pop this one early, but they don't.
Yeah, and of course, Hanzo's got the dragons ready to rock as well, and J-Man actually going to connect on that Ana once again, and that is a huge amount of heals down as well. So if Brophy Zephyr can get aggressive off the back of that, it could be huge. Scylla ready with the May ultimate as well. The wall is going to go back and forth and getting the red team into the corner off the back of that grab and dragon combo. He's going to find 3 there back to back to back, and this entire time, Brophy Zephyr are looking good on the point. They're ticking it up towards 40% and wasting a lot of time with that May ultimate.
Tabasco, we are throwing in the kitchen sink right now, ultimates-wise, and there's still a Blizzard and the Amplification Matrix left up for Brophy Zephyr. They started that fight with it, and they've ended it with it, despite all of the ultimates coming out. Shatter does connect, though, and that's the open area you're looking for. Big Immortality Field out of Ark's going to keep him in the fight and get those health bars reset, though.
Really important. Like you said, that was a great Shatter connects on it too, with the Immortality Field going to prevent any eliminations from going down, and Brophy Zephyr once again take control of the map, taking up towards 70% and really shoving down bases towards their spawn door here.
Now this is tricky. You want to get this Blizzard off without it being eaten by the D.Va. Wall off on the Reinhardt, though, and they may not even get the chance, as immediately Bam Bam's down. The Blizzard comes through, but can't find True on anybody. Stuck in the corner now. Brophy Zephyr got to find a way to fight their way out, but with the help of an Immortality Field, that's absolutely no problem for the team as they careen towards that point victory.
Yeah, just like that, you know, isolating that Reinhardt initially was such a huge find for Brophy Zephyr, and off the back of that, they were able to use that momentum to push bases all the way back until Bam Bam was spawned once again, so much time wasted, and just like that, bases are able to take up overtime on the point itself. They do just touch, but it's not enough. In the first round, we'll be going to Brophy Zephyr.
The class stuff from Brophy Zephyr. I gotta give my hat off, though, to Ark. Was the absolute difference maker that entire time. The Baptiste kept the team alive more effectively. The AoE healing in that first fight practically won the whole thing. And somehow they won the point without ever using that Amplification Matrix. I mean, you can dock some points for not using it, but if you don't have to, I guess there's no real reason.
Yeah, you know, really starting off that fight by isolating the Reinhardt with the Maywall, the biggest find that they could find. Because even though they ate Traffic's May ultimate later and you saw the D.Va, the Reinhardt completely frozen out, it didn't matter if Bases wasn't able to capitalize on it. So
yeah,
really good stuff from Brophy Zephyr, like you mentioned. Shoutouts to them. So let's see if they can do it once more on the second point of Busan here.
Things change up compositionally for us. We're going to be going over to a dive for Brophy Zephyr. Very untraditional one, though, not normal dive. This is 6-man, ladies and gentlemen. Idea here is to get on top of one player who's out of position, so it's Basis DC's job to stay as grouped up as they possibly can and not leave those little bits and bobs hanging around the side to be picked off.
Yeah, you love to see the Sombra play in action as well. Bam Bam finding the first elimination in this scrim onto Rare. That is pretty big in terms of area denial, but overall, what you're going to want to see from Brophy Zephyr is this Sombra trying to get into the back lines, disable that Reinhardt so the rest of the team can collapse, but that's not what we're seeing at all, and it looks like a complete reset from Brophy Zephyr as Basis take the fight to them, push them off the map, and take the first cap of the pen.
Yeah, arguably more important than that. Oh, and they just toss it down the drain as well. They swap off the Sombra onto the Rhine composition, so we're getting the mirror that we got last time, but they give up EMP charge for that, and switching second fight is generally not a great idea.
Yeah.
Brophy Zephyr have given up a lot of ultimate charge to make this swap, but they're confident they can play the mirror better. And they will. Reinhardt down.
Yeah, and they start strong and lots of damage going down. Immortality Field saving 3 members of Bases, keeping them just alive. A reverse find 2 back-to-back to return in a 4v4 here. Basis and Brophy Zephyr stuck between a rock and a hard place, but just as the wall goes up, Reverse is able to find one with a dead eye, and the fight continues as Basis finds one more, finds a second Icicle, 2 in a row as D.Va gets popped out of her mech, gets bopped as a baby, and Basis continue to hold control here for the point.
I mean, we just witnessed, right, switching after second fight in action. Basis DC came into that fight with ultimates, and they still leave with more. They have 3 big ones going into this fight. Make it 4, actually. There's so many ways for them to win this, and again, it's because that swap timing for Brophy Zephyr is a bad time, and they've got to deal with it now without any ultimates of their own.
Yeah, let's see how they approach this fight now. Brophy on the low ground here. Basis got 4 ultimates and they're ticking up towards 5. Brophy waiting here. J-Man almost with a dead eye, ready to rock, but so many ultimates going out. Earth Shatter going to connect onto Brophy Zephyr, shattering that D.Va mech and leaving them out and dry. And J-Man, though, finds 2 off the back of a great boot there. Great speed boost. Timing worked out. And as the battlefield goes up, to back, the grab is on the point as well, and Brophy Zephyr are duking it out, but it looks like Basis are just too good and aren't letting go.
Basis fought it out, but that ultimate advantage was almost nullified. They waited too long to take the engagement, so Brophy were able to build theirs up. They didn't eat on the Blizzard. They get a half block on the Shatter. The Graviton doesn't find the value because they have their aim matrix up. This is a dirty fight now as Brophy come in with the bases loaded.
Yeah, no, from the top here, the Mei ultimate's going to go down, connects onto the Baptiste, who's on top of the wall, able to save themselves as well. Rare now with the Earth Shatter. This could be a huge opportunity around the corner. Isn't going to use it yet, doesn't pull the trigger. And now down onto the Zarya. Great job here. It looks like they don't even need it as they find the cap, find the Elims, and Brophy Zephyr are back in it at 99%.
And they do manage to keep a little bit going out of this. They'll have ultimates and now a proper ultimate economy advantage, but you saw how much it took to really muscle their way through that. They'll try and play this one proactively just to maintain this. I'm not sure how much value this will actually find, though. It takes away the shield, which opens up for a Shatter, and it does connect. Down goes the backline of Basis DC, and back to spawn they go.
You love to see it. Brophy Zephyr opening it up for huge 4 Elims back to back to back to back. Make that 5 and look for number 6 here. Brophy Zephyr, give them one opportunity and they'll turn it into 5, and that's exactly what they just did. And off the back of that team fight, they're ticking up towards 40% when they were 1 point away from losing this map round.
They should have to play back, though. Brophy Zephyr can't hold this space without the Reinhardt. The Reinhardt did get back exceptionally fast, though, and Basis are coming in pretty angry. Brophy Zephyr have double support ultimates to hold this. This is a pretty good position for them.
Yeah, let's see how they play the Basis. Getting kind of funneled here. This could be dangerous. It's looking very sticky, but Brophy backing on back up to the site. The BAP ult gets popped. Damage is going down. Shields are going down. Maywall, great to block a lot of that damage from going down into the BAP field. J-Man opens things up with a pick onto the Reinhardt. That's going to be huge. And this Mei ultimate, although it doesn't connect, it denies a lot of space and forces Basis to go into Brophy's fight. And that's exactly what J-Man wants. Now reverse into the back line. Punches Scylla's head off. That is brutal. J-Man finds one. J-Man finds a second. Brophy Zephyr finds a third. And overall, they're looking really good right now.
Oh, this is rough, right? The double support ultimates for Brophy Zephyr got popped at the same time. A little bit of a misstep, but Basis GC throwing in that sound barrier, trying to go for the point again, effectively give another health bar's worth of ultimate charge back to Brophy Zephyr. So now they've got 3 more ultimates. This machine just doesn't ever stop going.
You love to see it. Brophy Zephyr now. Final fight on the board. 3 ultimates. Deadeye popped. Zoning is activated. Gonna break the shield. That is huge. Reinhardt now just swinging for hope's sake. Rare gonna connect with a huge Earth Shatter on the left side there. Scylla follows up. Maywall on the back of Rare there. Not gonna do anything, and Rare ultimately comes out on top as he keeps swinging. J-Man in the back line finds one on Icicle, and Brophy Zephyr from the brink of defeat on this map round come all the way back and take the first map. Beautifully done. Brophy Zephyr taking game 1 here.
Yeah, and it goes to show just the kind of game that you expect to see out of high school teams. Normally here, you're not expecting that many Reinhardt compositions, but because it's what they were comfortable on, because they said, hey, we beat you on it last map, we think we can do it again here, they swap to it, have no problems running it, and despite the ultimate economy difference that we had early on, like you said, they overcome it, find a big difference, and a lot of that thanks to some really strong proactive play on the point.
Yeah, that was really well done. Honestly, I didn't think they had it in them, especially down at 99. It's always daunting, right? One wrong fight and you know that map is over. But Brophy Zephyr sticking it together, the mental fortitude was clearly there. And like you said, Dor, they went to what they knew best. And we saw it work out time and time again for them, right? J-Man, that Deadeye, popping that Ryan Shield, and Rare dropping the Earth Shatter for so much success time and time again. So that was awesome, and that was just game one.
Yeah, if this matchup goes on, that is something I do want to see changed a little bit, though. Trying to block the Deadeye with shield is like, it'll save you, but it saves you for about that long. And then the team's on top of you, and all of a sudden you don't have a shield to do anything else with. We got to be finding cover, because we saw it win 2 fights for them in a row, just using Deadeye to pop those shields, enabling those proactive plays that we were talking about, right? It gave them the free shatter in their spawn. It gave them the free shatter on the point following that. And so it enables them to roll these ultimates into one another if you're not countering them properly, if you're not using the correct tool for the job.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, moving forward, this is a best of 5 series. So mental fortitude, even though we were just talking about Brophy Zero having it, both teams, and I'm talking about bases here, can have it in a BO5 series. And so it really could go either way. That was just the first map. And so, what is the response? Do we close in on the Cassidy? Do we dive them? Do we hide around a corner? Do we try to bait it out? I wonder what the response is going to be. And they have a ton of different answers. So hopefully we see it in strong succession here after this game. I want to see them respond. I want to see them go to a competitive game 3 here. And I'm excited to say the least, Adore. So what are you expecting out of this next map, though, right? We just had one of the newer maps in Busan, definitely more brawly. Of course, it's a control map. As we head on into game 2, it will be an assault type map. So out of this game mode, what are you expecting to see differently?
I suspect the teams are going to continue to run the Reinhardt just because it's high school, and high school teams tend to lean towards rush. It's straightforward, right? Keep the team together. It's just focused on organization more than anything else. But there is a chance we try and force something like an Orisa composition on one of these maps, especially on the defending side. Should we get a Temple of Anubis or something of the sort? That's likely the case. Should we go to Volskaya? It's likely we pay a bit more rush mirror. And it's something that I don't think either of them would be too scared of going to. But I think the map pick is Anubis, if I'm hearing correctly, in my ear.
Nice.
Which does lend itself a lot more towards double shield. Reinhardt really falls off, especially on this first point. So you're talking about whether it's double bubble, dive to try and hold on that first one, whether you're playing Hog Sigma, double shield, the ranges are definitely a bit longer, and these teams are going to be forced to adapt.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I always loved about Anubis, right? Ever since day one, Anubis has always been map of opportunity, because if you do have that Pocket Widow, Pocket Pharah, something like that, like a disruptor pick that you can pull out, Anubis is a really good map to try and make something happen. If you can, maybe, rush in from that low ground, try and do a high-low split or something. There's so many options, right? And that huge line of sight at the very opening onto the first capture site is really where all the fun can be had. So hopefully we see some crazy nonsense out of these guys. As you mentioned, Dor, it will be Temple of Anubis for the second map here. So I'm excited. But yeah, as you mentioned, teams do have a tendency to opt for rush because, hey, why fix what ain't broke, right?
Yeah. Certain maps will force them to flex zone. I think this is one of those, right? Like a Watch Point Gibraltar that's going to make you play dive. Temple of Anubis forces you to shift away from rush a bit more, which leads me to what I think is kind of the key to victory on this map for at least these high school teams, is how they route their way through the initial choke. You brought up that there's a lot of different ways you can do it. You can sim TP to point. Sometimes that can be effective. Take the outside room if you feel like you have more spam damage. Take the high ground if you feel like you want to rush on top of them. There's a lot of different ways of going about it, but no matter what the defense is playing, whether it's this disruptor like a Doomfist, like a Pharah that you brought up earlier, whether it's just pure damage like a Hanzo, Ashe, Torbjorn sort of deal from that high ground like Brophy Zephyr are offering up, getting through that choke is often the most difficult part of getting through this map.
Yeah, and so when we're looking at team compositions, right, we're talking about getting through a choke, Brophy Zephyr have gone for a really interesting composition, I think, in the Sigma. They've got the Orisa. They're running the Echo and the Hanzo, which I think
this is a mean
really
one.
Important for, yeah, it's a mean one. They've got the vertical ground control down pat. You know what I mean? They're going to be able to fight for it every single time. Basis, on the other hand, ooh, they were flirting with that Pharah pick for just a moment, but will stick to the Reaper in May. and running the Lucio as well. They're opting for a little bit more speed, a little bit more survivability, hoping to take the low ground here and take the fight to them through the left side, and actually opting for the bridge instead and just going quick through. But Scylla, good for one, already just beaming him down and doing tons of damage on this staircase. This is the danger of funneling. 5k there for Scylla.
Yeah, you kind of have two options, right? You can go top right side or you can go into the bridge. Taking left room is not a good option for this team. You'll 100% lose to the Hanzo Echo by taking 3 small choke points against a team that's running this much spam damage. Basically, DC have the right idea. It's just they lost a player early, and it's always going to be difficult getting through like that. I don't want to see anything change to this second try. They can try the same route or go under the bridge, but either way, they should be going right.
Yeah, Base is making an interesting swap, going off the Lucio onto the Mercy and Ash as well as the Cassidy. So opting for a double hit scan play here and opting for this left side push, trying to just brute force it through, but obviously finding out the hard way that, hey, Hanzo Echo really hurts, man.
It does, and they're wisely playing this. Brophy's effort push forward. They deny the off angle to the Ash who was playing in main earlier on, and now can start to funnel them in through these choke points. And yes, they swapped to that Ash Mercy to get the damage down, but it's still not nearly as much damage as something like a Hanzo Echo offers.
Yeah, Hanzo really just doing so much single target damage. Now Echo Scylla going from the backline, opting for the flank, finds the Mercy. Ooh. That is a huge pick. The Mercy going down is the single hugest source of healing. And now the res from Mandalorian down onto Scylla. Scylla comes back, finds a headshot down onto reverse. Okay. That's huge. Brophy Zephyr are chilling on this high ground door.
Yeah, and you can see Bam Bam got out, got a real nice shatter through, but then just got the Temple of Anubis experience. There's a reason why we don't see Reinhardt run that much here. It's because he got sent right packing immediately after that by the Hanzo.
That's tough. That's so tough. And when you've got so much damage, you mentioned
it's so difficult.
There's so many chokes. Yeah, it's so hard. What are you going to do? From basis, though, right? Okay. We are seeing reverse go back to the Hanzo. Bam Bam opting for the Winston, trying to just take space and do a little bit more damage overall. Let's see if it pays out for them. Now opting for this low ground approach here. Maybe we see some bubble monkey action to the high ground, but Bam Bam dropped so low. The Zarya bubble gets onto him. Mercy will heal for a lot as well, but Base is just taking so much damage. Now, using the Baptiste field here, trying to line up to help Bam Bam out, but then his shield drops onto the low ground. You hate to see it, and the damage is insurmountable for Base's DC as they get picked up by the Sigma ulti, and Brophy Zephyr are looking so comfortable right now.
Yeah, now the ultimates are becoming a bit of a problem. I do want to see swaps from Basis DC. I think they have the opportunity to swap off to something like an Ana right now to support that Winston a little bit more. And their ideas there were good, right? Using the Amplification Matrix to reset their bubble rotation that got a little thrown off early on by the Winston taking so much damage. Now they can come into this one clean. They don't make the Ana swap, but they should have a slightly better dive.
Let's see how it works. Ash from the top line, Grav connects. Finding 2 to follow up and finds a third there. Basis DC might just have the opening that they need here. However, J-Man has something to say about it as Rare, Scylla, J-Man from the top rope still hanging out and hanging on to dear life as the res comes out. Rare is on the site with the J-Man and holding on here now in a 1v1.
Oh, no.
Rare gonna come out on top, punches Mercy into oblivion, and Brophy Zephyr are still in this without even giving up a single tank.
This is a one-horse army left on point here. The spawns are pretty slow for Brophy Zephyr as well. That Baptiste takes a long time to get back. That Sigma takes a long time to get back. Bases have got the door cracked open. They've just got to step on through, but they may have taken a little bit too long here. The dives in and the supports are there. Amplification Matrix used to counter, and this will pull them all away with a Primal Rage. Wisely so, is now the DPS can start popping off for Basis.
Yeah, Bam Bam, really good job of isolating the Mercy and Hanzo. However, Mandalorian creeps their way back around, finds the res down onto Arc. Still, Basis doing a really good job, like you mentioned. Found a foothold and climbed all the way up. As Symbol onto the site, he will go down, and Basis finally cap the first point here.
All right, let's see if they can lead it into a second. They don't really have ultimates to snowball this one through, which is a bit unfortunate. It's a lot of the time what you aim to do on a 2CP map, so I suspect at least one fight will go the way of Brophy Zephyr here as they play this one relatively slow. You have a few objectives, though. You can try and build up that Bob. You can try and build up that Dragon. Get some sort of combo online to take away the point space from Brophy Zephyr, because otherwise this is going to be a bad time walking straight into that Flux.
Yeah, trying to opt for the low ground here, using the map geometry as cover. However, Rare and Symbol just so good and so aggressive with the double shield there, taking a lot of damage. Basis needs to drop down onto the bridge, pick up the health back, and take the fight from below once again, but the Sigma ulti will connect only onto one person. Basis still in a good spot to keep duking it out here. However, they are a little spread out, and with their D.Va diving into the back line, finding
nice.
one onto Rare, finding a second down onto Arc from Spawn, that might just be enough to put Brophy Zephyr on their back foot, now playing Spawn's your door.
They're playing slow, though. Pay attention. Brophy Zephyr are not trying to contest this point too hard. They're making sure they're keeping players alive above everything else, and that allows J-Man just enough time to find 2 picks. That's the foothold you need on defending side. No more than 2, honestly, to get this point back, and they do it beautifully.
Yeah, finding just 1 pick, but like you mentioned, playing it slow, playing the spawns consciously, Brophy Zephyr are able to fend off the aggressors with 1:40 seconds left on the clock.
This is a better position, though, for Basis GC. They got out of that fight what they wanted, right? You can't expect to win that fight against the ultimates the Brophy Zephyr had, but now you're coming in with more, right? They've got the bomb, they've got the dragon, they've got the tools. All Brophy Zephyr has is 1 amp matrix, which against a Winston isn't particularly effective. As long as they can avoid that, it will be alright. It's about finding the proper engagement, though. Catching out one of these supports with a Winston.
Yeah, taking the high ground, Winston dropping down to the back.
Oh, no.
Ooh, taking so much damage from Scylla on the Echo here, and that beam does more damage once you're at lower health, and it really, really just melts. And a great ultimate synergy there, using 3 from Winston, from the Hanzo, and from the D.Va to connect. However, Brophy Zephyr are still holding on, still contesting the site, and with 2 takes to their own, Basis DC are looking good and are about to find the second.
Nice. You know what? I was a little worried because heading in through the first match, or heading out of it, I suppose I should say, one of the big issues that I was seeing out of Basis GC is they didn't know when the fights were over. They were having a hard time calling it and knowing when to hold their ultimates and when to stop giving away ultimate charge to the opposing side. Yet on this one, it seemed to have entirely flipped on that, right? The reason they won that first point was exactly that, right? They understood to reset their spawns, make the push in, and get the numbers advantage on the better spawns that the attackers have there. And then heading into the second one, they understood their ultimate disadvantage and how to turn it into an ultimate advantage in the next fight, which if you showed me the team that played map 1, I would not think that they were the same team, but they fixed a lot of the issues, which is good signs.
Good signs. Means that they're active, they're thinking, they are talking, and they're working together as a team. Ultimately, the most important thing, right? Even when odds are stacked against you, keep the communication flowing, keep figuring out ideas, because you can make it happen. Now, Basis opting for something a little controversial here, but something that works nonetheless on first point of Anubis door. What am I talking about?
Okay, so Ashe Torb, I think, is maybe the single most slept-on composition in Overwatch 1. This composition is brutal to push into, on specifically Temple of Anubis and Hanamura. It is kind of map-specific at times, but it can be played on virtually any TCP map. But here, dude, here it is brutal. Getting through all that damage, getting through all the AoE is a real pain. Pushing as a tank into the Torbjorn is just the worst experience. It's anti-dive. Rush struggles against it because it can't be played on this map particularly well. It kind of covers all the bases. We'll see flexibility incarnate here for Basis DC, and it's up to Brophy's effort to prove that they can play against it.
Yeah, damage is the name of the game, and damage is what Brophy Zephyr have got. But they've also got versatility, as they've got the Tracer on the high right side staircase, already taking a lot of ground. This is important because now it forces Basis to either reposition or acknowledge his position and do absolutely nothing about it. Now, the pressure from Brophy Zephyr is coming from 2 directions, right? The top ground to the right and from directly ahead. How to Basis play this? Oh, and just like that, Graphic with a great elim onto J-Man. That will address that.
Quite frankly, it's not a big deal. You'll notice Arc is at 96% ultimate charge already. That is the only goal of Brophy's effort. It kind of doesn't matter that J-Man died. You're only looking to play that nano. Now it's the first one up. It's going to go on the monkey the second he's got that jump button up.
Here we go, now waiting, trying to scope out something. Traffic off the back of that Orisa pull. Symbol coming across the right side, bubbled up, taking the high ground, taking the battle to them. Brophy's effort are taking this high ground, and it looks like they're about to be successful as Rare nanoed down onto the site. So much space is his. Rare finding so much damage now, forcing Basis back onto the site here and back into the corners. Torbjorn trying to get set up, but Scylla with the laser just melting enemy after enemy, and with 2 members remaining, Basis are giving up 0.1 with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock.
Yep, it was a masterclass. Build nano, throw it on the monkey, jump the high ground. They even had the Zarya in position. pre-dive, and the Tracer going up the stairs to help with that push. Beautifully done. Now they come into the next one. Not with the ultimate advantage exactly, but with a couple powerful ones coming up online. Basis GC have them as well, though. This fight could get messy very quickly, but you're looking at the Immortality Field timing from the Baptiste to be the real kicker in all of it.
Let's see now. J-Man trying to be a distraction, trying to be a nuisance on the right side, and honestly create space. When you're playing Tracer, ultimately that's what you're trying to do. You don't necessarily need to find kill after kill after kill, but you want to find space and create opportunities for your team. It's like you're playing basketball and you're playing kind of the center and trying to create opportunity after opportunity in a weird way. Brophy Zephyr, though, spread across the map. They've got this split push from the left side and the right, and of course Baptiste amplification matrix going down, but kind of preemptive, Door.
Look at this disengage. That was perfect by Brophy Zephyr. They pull him back, bait him into the Graviton Surge, and then follow up beautifully. Now Rare can get into the real damage, pops the Primal Rage, splits the team up, while the points being capped, mind you. Brophy Zephyr can now just chuck in the remainder of their ultimates, a Pulse Bomb for whatever wants to contest after this. But positionally, Brophy Zephyr just pulled exactly Basis DC where they wanted them to be, and then dealt the damage there.
I love the Torbjorn ultimate from Scylla as well. Like you mentioned, just doing such a good job, Brophy Zephyr, of positioning around the map and drawing that ultimate out, backing up, and then drawing Basis into their Graviton, playing off of that. Their teamwork is so impeccable, Brophy Zephyr. There's a reason why they're here, and they're letting Basis know why right now.
I think my favorite thing that I'm seeing out of Brophy Zephyr is just a really, really, really good understanding of how each of these compositions work. Even when they came out for a short amount of time on 6-man, they looked solid on it. They understood what the fundamentals were, what they were playing for, and most importantly, something I bring up all the time, especially at this level of play, is understanding a win condition, right? Why do we win with this composition? Brophy Zephyr, coming into first point, understood if our Ana gets nano up before the opposing team gets any ultimates up, we will win this fight. Then just played for that. Their Tracer died. Doesn't matter. Winston is alive and building that ultimate for your Ana. They get it, they execute on it, move to point B, understand their win condition, bait the ultimates out, then use ours, and everything goes exactly to plan. So following those win conditions is a big thing that's leading to big wins for Brophy Zephyr that Basis GC I think has got to catch up on.
They definitely do, and now on the attack, this is originally where they had some trouble. Really, they found success in that first attempt on attack Basis, but after a long time, and honestly, I'm not sure if they can replicate it, and I'm getting some sort of anxiety for them, right? And so Basis, now what I'm looking at on their side, if they're running the Brigitte, they've got the Reaper. Yeah, I'm just going to have to trust in their composition and their thoughts here, but I'm getting some sort of anxiety. Brophy Zephyr, though, like you mentioned, really just fundamentally understanding the game and their roles well, and like you said, they're not letting those individual picks get to them. They're not wasting time off of those. They know what their long-term goals are, and they're accomplishing them. Now, Brophy Zephyr set up on the defense, of course, Basis on the attack here. Let's see how they play this Reaper and try to find any value out of him. Will he go up the left side or try to TP play onto the right? We'll have to see.
The tricky thing here is that you can't build that nano boost like Brophy Zephyr did. You just don't have the time to do it. So when you go in, you're actually going in. Bam Bam's trying to dive and trying to get eliminations, and they do a big one onto Arc is going to take down the majority of the heals from Brophy Zephyr.
Yeah, this is big. 30 seconds already left on the clock. That is half the time permitted. Scylla still got the Mercy pocket in tow, backing up. Great damage down at the Diva. Finds some more, pests on the staircase. Connects there as well. Scylla zoning.
Ooh, that's
the Ana, and with 15 seconds left on the clock, Basis are trying their best to just touch the point, but Scylla is making it impossible.
Yeah, it's really difficult to push with this composition, right? I brought up earlier why you see the Ana to build the Nano, but if you don't have the time to build the Nano, you're just going to struggle a lot of the time. And it was a good first dive. They did find the pick on the Baptiste, so credit to Basis DC. There's clear target coordination, one of the things that I think Brophy Zephyr has been missing a little bit. And if they can leverage that later, maybe they find a big win here. But holding this for this long on point A is quite a tall order, especially considering the pace at which Brophy Zephyr pushed it prior using that Nano Monkey.
Yeah, and now with 3 minutes and 53 seconds left on the clock, they can do exactly what you said, Dor, right? If they want to play that Ana and they want to play slower, they totally can. They've got all the time in the world. And now with 5 seconds before the round actually starts, Brophy Zephyr, they the world is their oyster, and it really comes down to how they want to crack it. I love always opting for the Echo and the Tracer. This aggressive composition's been working out for them really well, and they just move around the map so well as a team. And so Brophy Zephyr, they've got some sort of gusto going for sure as they head on into the second part of this map. 3 minutes and 53 seconds left on the clock. They're looking toasty, looking frosty, and they're looking good. Basis DC opting for some hit scan action. Opting for the Reaper rather, and the Brigitte. Not sure if I agree with the picks overall, but Basis DC, they've got a plan, and we know they can execute. We've seen these guys do it before.
I highlighted it earlier, just to look at the nano. That's the big percentage you're looking at. If Brophy Zephyr can get a good position before that, that's fine. Basic GC are going to try and interrupt that, though. Put the Reaper up in the Winston's face. Make it more dangerous to build that nano charge, because you're always at risk of getting blown up extremely quickly. You'll see they'll take up the same position as earlier, but that Reaper playing close does make it a bit trickier.
Does make it a bit trickier. J-Man ultimately does go down to that Diva. That is unfortunate, and now Scylla from the distance trying to do some damage, but will ultimately opt to stay back as the rest of the team comes around the left side staircase, closes the distance. Brigitte drops down so low. Anti-heal going to connect, and so drops back off the bridge as well. Reverse not going to connect on any shots here. Mandalorian inevitably, though, does go down. Traffic in a great spot, cuts him out on the exit. Brophy Zephyr can't find the opening just yet.
High ground still belongs to Brophy Zephyr, which is the big thing we got to look at, right? Positionally, this is a win for them. They can just wait for those spawns to come back up and then re-engage, right? Mandalorian is now back in the fight. Rare is back in, and with that damage boost, they can look to take this point over. It's just one tick they need, and I'm sure they could get plenty more after a push like that.
That was beautifully done from Brophy Zephyr. It started with the one onto Bam Bam, and Brophy Zephyr, just like that, find a second in this best of 5 series. Jor, you said it best. Brophy Zephyr, when we were watching them on that second point attack, looked like a well-oiled machine, working across and working together, of course, into Grav, into the Dragon. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby, and J-Man was a definite part of that, getting to play the game here, securing that. You love to see it.
Nicely done.
But really, yeah, just so good from Brophy Zephyr. And so far, they're 2-0. They're looking solid, but I wouldn't say that Basis is out by any means, right? They've fought all the way here, so maybe we just haven't reached the mode where they're most comfortable just yet.
Yeah, I do think there were some things that we saw Brophy Zephyr doing a little bit, or Basis GC rather, doing a little bit better in some of those situations. The biggest one for me was target focus from the team in the mid-fight. While the dives were good, you're seeing more often than not Brophy Zephyr lose focus the second the fights got a little bit messy, and they tended to go a bit longer than they kind of had any right to, whereas Basic DC, when they found somebody, they found them and they died. It just wasn't quite as often as you would like to see. We are going to go to a quick little break, though. Just give these players a little bit of halftime, get them to talk it through, and boy, they need quite the pep talk to try and bring this one back. It's going to be a reverse sweep, possibly, on the backside of this break.
Welcome back, everybody, to the 2022 PlayVS Cup, the Overwatch Youth Program Championship. I'm your host, Jim Basco, and of course, joining me today is the wonderful Dorcast. Dor, we just had a wonderful first couple of matches in our grand final set. How are you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good. We saw highlights from either team. The win conditions that I brought up earlier looked amazing for Brophy Zephyr. Basis DC, their target focus is good, and it feels like should they get a few things going, once those puzzle pieces fall in place, I do think this team's got some fighting power in them. For the map that we're heading to, which is going to be Dorado, I do think it's the best pick, right? Of the escort maps, which can be, for rush teams, kind of a tough cookie to crack, it is probably the best choice for them to go with. There's a good chance they play up against double shield on the defending side, or a little bit more of that dive, but it shouldn't restrict their hero pool so much, which is kind of one of the big things you want to do on escort as a rush team.
Yeah, absolutely. And something that we've been seeing out of Brophy Zephyr as well is just moving so well. So hopefully on the attack here, we can see them, take advantage of that low ground, use the staircase to head on onto the high ground, take that bridge control quickly and do it functionally. But of course for bases as well, they're on their tournament line. This is a huge map for them, a huge game for them overall. And so if they want to contest for that share of $13,000 that's going on over the first place, they need to put their names back on the board here. Currently down 0-2 basis. In our best of 5, they're looking to contest here, and they're going to be taking the first offense, opting for Pharah Echo, which I gotta say, I'm definitely a fan of.
Yeah, we'll see if it stays. Air Force One's a fun composition to run here and there. They could just be using it to fly up to the high ground and take a look out the window, so we'll hold off on the attacking composition. Defending, though, more of the double bubble from Brophy Zephyr. This map's very different. You can't just play towards that nano boost win condition. The big thing I need to see are bubble rotations. Something that I actually thought Basis DC did very well on their attacking side. We'll talk about that later. You need to be using those bubbles in tandem between the Winston and the Zarya, and thus far, it looks like they're doing so pretty effectively.
Yeah, a little awkward. Goes for the boop off the high ground. Of course, if you hit that Farah concussed behind enemies, it'll send them flying off that high ground. And now Traffic trying to connect down onto some nasty Tracer Presence in the back line. Gonna recall instead, and Traffic is back on out of there, trying to help with the peel of the monkey in the backline as well. Lasering, and the stun will go down. Scylla instead comes out on top, and J-Man to help there from the high ground finds the Mercy. Rare dropping down from the skies. Brophy Zephyr looking really good in that initial fight.
Yeah, every time I talk about Brophy Zephyr and give them a win condition, they're already on top of it. The bubble rotations were perfect. Winston's dropping, contesting the cart, zapping anything on sight on low ground, getting bubbles from the Zarya, using his after that. And then if there's still more trouble, he can always jump back up to go to the rest of their team. This is really a fantastic position to be in, and now you've got all these ultimates to work with. This fight is a winner for Brophy Zephyr as long as they can execute.
Yeah, J-Man drawing a lot of the damage away, able to recall and find a huge pick down onto Frosty Knight, and just like that is out of there. Sayonara. Brophy Zephyr looking so good now from the top row. Scylla is able to find one, and just like that, Basis DC are crumbling with 2 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock. They are trying to push the payload however much that they can, but it ultimately won't be anything significant as Scylla and J-Man close out. 2 more elims, Basis DC, 2:25 left on the clock with really no progress made just yet.
They are coming up on ultimates, though, and they will be matched by Brophy Zephyr. It'll be a messy fight, but at least there's ultimates up on the board, which makes it a volatile one. Aces have that far ultimate, but they'll hold back on using it now that they've lost that echo. Wait for the Resurrect to come through. Hopefully not losing their Pharah in the midst. J-Man with a big pickup denies the barrage, and now Basis DC are questioning, do we go for this? The answer is yes to them, but it may have been the wrong choice.
Yeah, it may have been the wrong choice, especially when you're missing so much of your damage. The only other damage dealer on your team being Traffic, and just like that symbol finds Traffic, and Basis DC in a staggered, awkward position. Reverse about to spawn as well. Things are not looking great, and just like that, Scylla with a huge bomb burst finds one more elim down onto Reverse, and Basis DC 5 ultimates to their name. 1 minute and 30 seconds left on the clock. It's a little scary, dude. It's a little scary, but this big fight is going to be huge, and this will really determine if they're going to be able to take over this first point with a minute left on the clock now.
All right, duplicate on, and that is the buck being passed by Brophy Zephyr. Immediately trying to get a Graviton Surge online, but aren't able to. They win the fight quickly off the back of that one ultimate, and now Reverse is in. The barrage that I've been building up for goodness knows how long at this point doesn't even need to come out. The bomb, in fact, finds 2, something you don't see happen often in 2022.
Yeah, I really thought Mandalorian and Rare would be able to react in time for that. Symbol finds one before exiting this existence of his own accord. Basis DC, though, finding the elims that they need to start this push once again. Brophy Zephyr, they've got the grab, though. They've got the Monkey's Rage, and they're ready to take the fight, sending the Monkey over the arch in just a moment here.
Versus also holding on to this barrage on a point where you need to be contesting at the end, where you are forced to be in one position. Playing into a barrage is all of a sudden a lot more dangerous. Up and over top of the team. Verse has a good position, but got slept out! A big hit from Ark enables them to take down the Pharah without so much as a whisper from the opposing side. Scylla now can surround the team, put in those sticky bombs, and find the finisher with 18 seconds on the clock. This is final fight for Basis DC. They've got to make it count, and they've only got one more ultimate left to do it, but Reverse is just so far away, I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, the commotion on the site is huge, but just like you mentioned, that grab not finding a lot, and off the back of that sleep, Brophy Zephyr fighting all the way back. Reverse finally able to use that barrage, but Basis, you know, they had this moment of glory, this glimpse of greatness after scrapping it out for so long on that first point, but ultimately only taking the payload 84.85 meters, not finding the first cap there. So Brophy Zephyr, not too tall of a task in front of them right now, but it really comes down to, can they take this high ground and play it better, Dor?
Yeah, it is doable for Basis DC. This is not an uncommon result on this map to see a full hold, especially right at the end of point A. We see it all the time in collegiate, so to see it in high school is no surprise. I'm just curious about compositions at this point. Trophy Zephyr, I suspect they're probably just going to be playing a little bit more of that double bubble. Yep, they can charge up Nano, get up to that high ground that you mentioned. It's so important to take using said Nano. Basis DC are going to come up on something a little bit more custy. This is why I was talking about Dorado being an option for them on the defense. The Reinhardt becomes available. Not necessarily the strongest thing ever, but available. They'll pair it with the Zarya, which is a little weird. Because now, if you get knocked off high ground, there's no D.Va to fly back up. There is no take backsies, no do-overs, no second chances. But I don't think that Base GC want a second chance. I think they want comfort here. The comfort's in the Zarya, the comfort's in the Junkrat, the comfort's in that Moira, and they're going to use it to try and spawn hold Trophy Zephyr.
Really interesting. If you've got to do something, right? Yeah, risky. But there is a chance that this works out and catches Trophy Zephyr completely off guard. Now dropping the monkey down onto the payload. He's going to be the first person to make contact here. Rare spots him out. Maywall blocking themselves off into the room. You love to see it. And now from the back, Scylla destroying that immortality field, dealing with it quickly. And off the back, this pincer approach is going to be a nightmare for Basis DC as they're getting torn up from one side. They've got J-Man shooting through another doorway. And they've got the tanks from Brophy Zephyr knocking on the door, busting through and ready to rock as Scylla continuously dumping damage into the back line here is going to find one. And just like that, they're cracked open. Basis DC are scrapping it out of this room, but giving it their best, but ultimately Trophy Zephyr are coming out on top.
Yeah, it's important that we understand the point of this room. It wasn't to eliminate anybody. It was to live and deny cart time, right? Because you can contest from that tiny little door. They bank on getting back in time, but I don't think they'll actually get to hold this high ground ever. So it's basically just a two-fight point like it would always be, except they didn't get much of a chance at their first fight because, as you mentioned, that pincer maneuver was so powerful. It also means that they gave away a lot of ultimate charge. Scylla's up on the duplicate. J-Man's got a pulse bomb. Arc has that nano that we've been talking about. There are 5 ultimates up for Brophy Zephyr. Bases have got to come up big, but now is just not the time. It's the time for Brophy Zephyr.
It's the time for Brophy Zephyr, and of course it's the time to slam as Scylla is in the background with the Earth Shatter going to connect. And of course we're seeing the duplicate from Echo's ultimate here connecting for 2, connecting for 3, and just like that, Brophy Zephyr setting themselves up for a grand victory, a quick 3-0. And your first victors of the 2022 PlayVS Cup, the Overwatch Youth Program Championship. Shoutouts to Brophy Zephyr, man.
They look fantastic, and you know what? They look fantastic with $13,000 in scholarship cash in their back pockets. I don't think they're complaining. You know what? Basis DC can't be mad either. $7K going to them in scholarships. Huge congratulations to both of the teams. And I thought we just got to get some good Overwatch today. While we saw some real nice compositional diversity from Brophy Zephyr, Basis DC offered up some good attacks, some really nice full ultimate fights when we were seeing 6 ultimates aside. They seem to have kind of an advantage in those situations, and so there were certainly some nice take-homes for them too.
It was awesome to watch, and I think you hit it really on the head. The biggest takeaway from any of these tournaments is work well with your team, work as a cohesive unit. You saw that most from Brophy Zephyr, especially on Anubis, right? No matter how many times you get picked off at the initial parts of the fight, remember your win conditions, remember why you're here, and remember what your strategy is for your composition. So we saw Brophy Zephyr just execute on a level like no other with a quick 3-0. They cement themselves as champions, so they're going to be taking home $13,000 across the team, and of course second place taking home $7K. So that's a lot of money, especially when you're in high school, man. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, and it's all in scholarships, so that means they can use it for college, they can use it for textbooks, they can use it wherever they need, avoid those student loans. It's a nice thing to do for a lot of these kids. And also, it means that they can start building towards these other things, right? Look at other tournaments. Look at winning more scholarship money. There's a surprising amount in esports. And you'd be surprised talking to people like Doc Haskell, talking to people like Coach Antor, talking to people like Coach E up in Northwood. There's so many of these schools looking to recruit players, and having something like this on your resume is huge for these kids to get their foot in the door at those schools.
Absolutely. Yeah, the real path to pros starts right now, and of course, you can get involved more on PlayVS as well. And so shout outs to everyone for making this event possible. Shout outs to everyone in Twitch chat for supporting your friends and maybe your competitors on stream itself, and for everyone competing in the tournament today. It's been an absolute blast. My name's Jim Basco. That's Door. We've had a wonderful time, honestly, and that was some great Overwatch from the high school league, and we can't wait to be back for the next one. So with that said, nothing more from me, and it's been an honor to be here. So congrats to Brophy Zephyr once again, and we'll see you guys next time.